As I was praying with these scriptures and preparing for today, and also realizing that obviously we are celebrating something very special as far as a civil celebration this weekend with the 4th of July, the anniversary of the founding of our nation 250 years ago. The thought that came to my mind was the question: if our founding fathers were to come among us today and to look at the state of, or the condition of the United States, would they be very happy? Would this be the nation, the expression of the nation that they set out to establish when they declared their independence from the King of England? I have a feeling that, yes, there are some things that we can celebrate, but there are also a number of things that are sadly broken or missing. If we look at the words of the Declaration of Independence and the preamble, especially of the Constitution, are we truly a nation where every person is considered free and equal to every other one? Do we live truly, excuse me, in a land of peace and security? Do we truly honor the rights of every other person? Even as we ask and demand that they honor our rights. And as I continued to pray in this regard, I also came to realize, in the light of our scriptures today, that if there are things that are still incomplete in our expression of ourself as a nation, even as they were incomplete at its founding. When our founding fathers wrote those words, they weren't writing a reality that existed in that day. There were slaves, there was insecurity, there was all sorts of difficulties, but they were writing with a hope of what they wanted to establish. They presented an ideal for themselves and for all of the generations that follow. And as we embrace that ideal in the light of our scriptures today, I invite you to remember and to think that we are not going to achieve that ideal by legislation. We are not going to be able to legislate that all people are created equal, that everyone has the equal rights, that everyone live in peace and security with one another. We have all kinds of laws. We have all kinds of brokenness too, don't we? If we are to achieve or to strive toward that ideal that our founding fathers set out for us, we need to turn as they turn to faith in God. Not that they established this nation under one denomination, faith, or another, but they did establish this nation with a firm belief that there is a God who has a great destiny in mind for us, and it is that destiny, the destiny that God has created us for, that we are striving for, and that they sought to establish as the foundation for this United States. And if then we are to strive toward that ideal, to live in peace and harmony with one another as our scriptures presented in the first reading, if we are to put aside all of the problems that we have, we need to live in the fullness, not of laws, but of faith. To live in the way that faith teaches us to live. To love one another as Christ loved us and God continues to love us. To embrace the teachings of our faith that we are all created in the image and likeness of God. That we are all created equal to one another in His dignity and in His grace. And that we are called to live with one another in harmony and peace. We can try to legislate that, and we will fail, as we have throughout all of this time. Or we can embrace our faith, daring to live as Christ taught us to live in the fullness of our faith, to live in the fullness of our own dignity, knowing that as we do so, we embrace and honor that dignity in every other person around us as well. And as we live into that dignity, we can become greater ourselves, and our nation can indeed grow into that ideal that our founding fathers longed for as they established it. We live in a time when, yes, we can celebrate that we have done great things. But our greatness depends not on economic power, not on political power, certainly not on military might. Our greatness is reflected in the greatness you and I of one another, and how we honor that greatness, how we seek to not just honor it, but to nurture it and to bring it to a greater fullness in one another, according to the teachings of Christ. And strengthened, guided by His teaching, by the grace that we receive in these sacraments, that we become all that He has intended us to be. And as such, embracing that with one another, we can indeed be a great nation, as our founding fathers encouraged us and desired us to be. But as we do so, let us ground ourselves here in faith and take that faith with us back out into our homes, our streets, our workplaces, and to all of the society around us, daring to live in the fullness of that grace and dignity that God has given us, that we call forth and nurture in one another. Then we truly shall be all that our founding fathers hoped for, and we can rejoice in the glory and the honor